Manila at 10 and 4 Riles. Rizal also engaged in lime manufacturing. Their lime burner had monthly capacity more than 400 bags of lime. He organized the Cooperative Association of the Pitan Farmers to break Chinese monopoly. And the last, Rizal as inventor. Among Rizal inventions, cigarette lighter which has sent as a gift to Blumentritt his best friend called Sulpukan, a wooden machine for making bricks, and many more. Rizal and Josephine Bracken. The death of Leonor Rivera on August 28, 1893 left a hole in Rizal's heart. In his loneliness, he met Josephine. Josephine, Irish girl born on October 3, 1876 in Hong Kong. Her mother died in childbirth. She was adopted by an American engineer by Mr. Topher, who later became blind. Mr. Topper, who the one who arrived in the Philippines just to treated by Dr. Jose Rizal. Josephine arrived in Dapitan in February 1895 with blind man Mr. Topher. Rizal and Josephine fell in love with each other at first sight. Rizal and Katipunan. When Katipunan commenced in Manila in 1896, they arrived in Dapitan to narrate to Dr. Jose Rizal the founding of Katipunan and its plan for revolution. Pio Valenzuela initially to Dapitan in order to inform Rizal of the plan on Katipunan during the meeting at a little river called Bitukang Manok. Venus steamer Valenzuela boarded to reach Dapitan. Raimundo Mata, blind man who came with Valenzuela to camouflage his mission. These are the reasons why Rizal objected Bonifacio's project about revolution. 1. The people are not ready for revolution. 2. Army and fund must first be collected before raising the cry of revolution. The two were happy for they were expecting for a baby. However, Rizal played a prank on Josephine, making her give birth to an 8-month baby old. The two were happy for their they were expecting for a baby. However, Rizal played a prank on Josephine, making her give birth to an 8-month baby boy. The boy lived for only 3 hours. He was named Francisco in honor of Rizal's father. After a month of worldwide romance, they agreed to marry, but Father Obac, the parish priest of Dapitan, refused to marry them without the permission of Bishop of Cebu. Hearing of the planned marriage and unable to endure the thought of losing Josephine, Mr. Topher tried to commit suicide by cutting off his throat with a razor, but Rizal was able to prevent this. To avoid tragedy, Josephine accompanied Mr. Topher back to Manila. Mr. Topher returned to Hong Kong alone while Josephine stayed with Rizal in Manila. Having no priest to marry them, Rizal and Josephine married themselves before the eyes of God. A letter of Dinusalang as an identified committee dated Hong Kong, June 1, 1892, soliciting that aid of committee is the patriotic war. 9. An anonymous undated letter to the editor of Hong Kong Telegram censuring banishment of Rizal to Dapitan. 10. Letter of San Ildefonso Laurel to Rizal, dated Manila, September 3, 1893, saying that the Filipino people look up to him as their savior. 11. A letter of Rizal Segunda, dated Manila, September 17, 1893, informing an identified corresponding of the arrest and banishment of Doroteo Cortes and Ambrosio Salvador. 12. A letter of Marcelo H. del Pilar to Don Juan Tendus, dated Madrid, June 1, 1893, commending the establishment of a special organization independent of Masoni to help the cause of Filipino people. transcript of a speech of Kikian Emilio Jacinto is a reunion of the Katipunan on July 23, 1893, in which the Filipino cry was answered, "Long live the Philippines, long live liberty, long live Dr. Rizal, unity." 14. Transcript of a speech of Tiktik Jose Turiano Santiago in the same Katipunan reunion, wherein Katipuneros shouted, "Long live the eminent Dr. Rizal, death to the oppressor nation." 15. A poem of Laong Laan entitled A Talisay, in which the author makes the Pitan schoolboys sing that they know how to fight for their rights. And here are the testimonial evidence provided by Martin Constantino, Aguila del Rosario, Jose Reyes, Moises Salvador, Jose Dizon, Domingo Franco, Didato Arellano, Pio Valenzuela, Antonio Salazar, Francisco Quizon, Timoteo Paez, and the Judge Rafael Dominguez advocate assigned with the task of deciding with corresponding action. Governor General Ramon Blanco. Colonel Olive transmitted the records of the case to Governor General Ramon Blanco, who in turn appointed Captain Rafael Dominguez as judge advocate to institute corresponding action against Rizal. Peña's recommendation to Rizal must be immediately sent to trial. He must be held in prison unnecessary security. His properties must be issued with order of attachment. And as identity, Rizal had to pay 1 million pesos. Instead of civilian lawyer, only an army officer is allowed to defend Rizal. Peña's recommendation. Lieutenant Luis Javier de Andrade, First Lieutenant of the Artillery, brother of Jose Tabiel de Andrade, the bodyguard of Rizal. Rizal arrangement, December 11, 1896. Rizal was charged with the crime of rebellion and the formation of illegal association. When they asked regarding his sentiments of reaction on the charge, Rizal replied that is his defense. He does not question the jurisdiction of the court. He has nothing to amend except during his exile in the Pitan in 1892, he had not dealt in political matters. He had nothing to admit on the charge against him. He had nothing to admit that the declaration of the witness he had not met nor knew. December 13, 1896. While in detention, Rizal released a manifesto that denounced the revolution to condemn Katipunan by using his name without his permission. Actual trial. December 26, 1896. Hall of Banners of Cuartel de España. He was accused of 3 crimes: rebellion, sedition, and illegal association. Penalty: life in prison, death of rebellion, and sedition, correctional imprisonment, and fine of 325 to 3,250 pesetas of illegal association. Here are the 12 points defense of Rizal. As testified by Pio Valenzuela, Rizal was against the rebellion. 2. No letter consisting of revolutionary elements addressed to Katipunan was written. Without his consent, Katipunan used his name as one of the passwords. If he was guilty, he should have left the country while in exile. He should not have built a home and brought a parcel of land or established a hospital in the Pitan. 5. If he was really the leader of the revolutionists should have consulted him. He did not deny that he wrote by the law of La Liga Filipina, but to make things clear, the organization was civic association, not a revolutionary society. 7. After the first meeting of La Liga, the association vanished because of the exile in the Pitan, thus did not last as long. 8. He had no idea that La Liga was organized 9 months later. 9. If the La Liga had no revolutionary purpose, then Katipunan should not have been organized. 10. If the Spanish authorities found his letter offending, it was because 1890 his family was being persecuted resulting to their dispossession of properties and the deportation of his brother-in-law. 11. He lived in exemplary life in Dapitan, the politico-military commanders and missionary priests in the province could arresto that. According to the witness to speech delivered Doroteo Antunco, house inspired the revolution. Then he went to confront this person. If he was in revolution, the Katipunan should not have sent unfamiliar emissary to him in the Pilitan. For this, all of friends knew that he never advocates violence.
As continuation of Lesson 5, let us proceed to the remaining days in the death of Rizal. At 6 a.m. of December 29, 1896, Rizal was read his verdict by Captain Rafael Dominguez to be shot the next day at 7 a.m. at Cuneta de Bagong Bayan, or now known as Rizal Park. At 7 a.m., Rizal was transferred to the chapel cell adorned by religious images to convince him to go back to Catholic home. His first visitors were Jesuit priests, Fathers Miguel Sadera Mata and Luis Visa. So basically, when Rizal heard the court's decision, he knew that there was nothing he could do to change his fate. So what he did is to spend his remaining hours in going to the prison chapel. Then at 7 o'clock in the morning, he was transferred to the chapel cell in hope that it would help convince him to go back to Catholic home. At 7:15 a.m., after Father Salera left, Rizal asked Father Visa for the Sacred Heart statue, which he carved when he was an Ateneo student. And from his pocket, the statue appears. The Sacred Heart of Jesus was said to be the first sculpture that Rizal made. He carved it in baticuling wood with a penknife at the request of his professor, Father Jose Leonardo. The statuette remains on his cell, and on the day of his execution, before he left the cell, Rizal